Of course, Moderna seemingly so important to the movement of our markets over the last few days. And as you point out, $1.25 billion raise for that company yesterday in the markets itself as the stock had shot up on Monday. What do you make of sort of the focus on that 8-patient study at this point? I mean, are we seeing things that we simply typically wouldn't see in drug development because this is such a unique time and therefore we have to kind of give them a little more room, a little more wiggle room, maybe in terms of what they're seeing?
We're definitely seeing things we wouldn't normally see. And this situation is just fascinating. That small number, the 8 patients, of course, that is earlier than we would normally see for phase 1 data. And Scott Gottlieb this morning on Squawk Box brought up the timing of the Operation Warp Speed press briefing on Friday, where Moncef Slaoui, the scientific leader of that operation, who at the time was on Moderna's board, indicated he had seen data that made him even more confident we'd have a vaccine by the end of 2020. And so there's some speculation, including cited by Gottlieb this morning, that Moderna had to report the data out because there was that allusion made to it on Friday. So maybe it was earlier than they normally would report. And guys, I did reach out to Moderna's CEO, Stéphane Bancel, upon seeing this Stat News article yesterday to get his take on it. And, you know, one of the points in the article was that it was a small number of patients, 8 patients. And he acknowledged that and said they pointed that out as well. It is a small number of patients. The other question that's come up a lot is why the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, Dr. Fauci's organization, hasn't acknowledged the data. And there he pointed me to a tweet from Vice President Pence, who did say he talked with Fauci about the data in a briefing, and he was very excited about it. So there are so many questions about this, guys, and it's not a normal situation at all.
Well, Meg, I think that the biggest problem and what offended most people was that, and a lot of younger companies like Moderna do this, and it really suffers from the curious disease of premature explanation. There was kind of something that said they don't really deserve to be able to put out anything that was promotional or be promotional, because they did blanket the airwaves. I believe it would have been good for them to be able to say, and you know what, I just want to be clear to everybody, we will need the money to be able to go to the next level. And the fact that they didn't volunteer, a lot of people are mad that we didn't pry it out of them. And you know what? Yeah, sure. I like to ask these companies, I like to ask all these young companies, so what are you going to do for money? And typically they say, well, we really can't talk about it, or you can imagine what we have to do. And I would have preferred if they had provided that information too. But I think that you just can explain to us that it's not necessarily when they say 8 for 8 that they had to do that, but it would have been good when they did 8 for 8, which is way too small and means nothing. And for all we know that they were all 23-year-olds and they were cherry-picked, that it would have been good for them to say, hey, you know what, our stock is up a lot. They are the largest now in that particular index. Remember, we do have to fund our company. Had they just done that, I think people wouldn't begrudge them so much.
Yeah, although, I mean, I don't understand all the financial disclosures, but if could they have said in advance they were planning on raising stock based on the data? I mean, raising money through a stock sale? I think they're just in a very complicated position. You know, a lot of us were probing why haven't we seen the phase 1 data yet when we knew they'd gotten the go-ahead from the FDA based on safety to start the phase 2. But then they did report what they had, and now they're being criticized for reporting so little data.
Well, I mean, look, Innovia's out there reporting a lot of data, but like on mice, it's just very hard for these companies to know what to do. Yeah, but one of the things that when you're in doubt, just say we passed phase 1. There was no need to give any more detail, because once you give some detail, you got to give all detail.